You.
Awesome. Thank you, Tara. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be speaking about state permitting. Again, my name is Janelle Phillips. I work for the Division of Water Resources in the Water Structures Group. I am the Stream Obstruction and Floodplain permitting lead. With that, we'll get started. I always like to start my presentations with a little bit of humor. So this is a cartoon of Calvin and Hobbes, and basically Calvin's being taught that there are rules to certain things. So why do we have to have permits? Why do we have to go through this process? And there's two laws that stream obstruction team works with. There's KSA 82A 301 et al., which is the Obstructions in Streams Act. And then the second one is KSA 24-126, which is the levee law. Those laws were done at the Capitol. DWR has nothing to do with the laws other than to uphold them. So when is a state permit required? So for KSA 82A 301 et al., construction, modification, or repair of a dam or work in a designated stream. For KSA 24-126, it's construction of a levee or the placement of floodplain fill within a floodplain. So let's start with the definition of a dam. By state statute, that KSA 82A 301 defines a dam as a structure that is capable of impounding water and is 25 feet or greater in height, or 6 feet or greater in height, and 50 or more acre feet in volume behind the dam. So there's a diagram on this sheet. As you can see, the height of the dam is here, and this is how much is behind it. For my engineering cohorts, this does include dry detention ponds. So if you are doing a detention pond that will be dry most of the time, but has the capability of holding 50 acre feet behind it, or is 25 feet or greater in height, there is a chance that it is classified as a dam as that is defined. So what is the difference between a repair and a maintenance? So maintenance is considered removing woody vegetation, seeding and grass, burning animal control, replenishment of riprap, and removing debris from the spillway. Types of repairs would be a pipe replacement, a slip line of pipes, embankment modifications, modifications of the dam, or modifying the auxiliary spillway. So if you have a dam or someone comes to you and wants to build a dam, first thing I would say is tell them to get a determination from DWR or the U.S. Corps of Engineers and the U.S. Corps of Engineers. The second thing I would say is hire an engineer. The reason it is getting permits from dams requires construction plans and specifications by a licensed engineer, and so therefore those would be the things that I would tell a community to do first, is to tell them to get determinations from DWR and the U.S. Corps of Engineers and to hire an engineer. In my presentation, I will not go over dam determinations. That is dealt with our dam safety group. And so I think that's a presentation all on its own. But those are the things I would do if someone wants to build a dam in your community. Before I go on to anything else, I want to lightly touch on water appropriations. If someone wants to build a pond in your property, you should know, or in your community, you should know that anything more than 15 acre feet of storage or a groundwater well requires a water appropriations permit. And so we have 4 field offices for the community of state of Kansas. So if you know that you're going to hold more than 15 acre feet, it might be advantageous for you to contact our field office or our headquarters to ask for if a water appropriations permit is required for that particular pond or activity. So moving on, we're going to talk about work in a designated stream. I think the first thing that we need to define is what is a designated stream. A designated stream outlined in KSA 82A 301 is a natural or man-made channel that drains a watershed of 1 square mile in our eastern part of our state, 2 square miles or more in the center of our state, or 3 square miles or more in the western part of our state. A lot of people ask me, how do I know how much is draining to the area? There is a nifty tool. It's called USGS Stream Stats. You can go to this website. You just type in Google USGS Stream Stats, and you can put in the lat long of the location, and it will tell you the drainage area for that location. I will caution you in the western part of the state to take a little bit more time and look at some USGS maps and other things to make sure that it has incorporated everything, but this is a great tool. We use it in our office ourselves to find out what the drainage area of certain streams are. So what kind of work? So within the channel of a designated stream, if you construct or modify a stream obstruction, if you modify the stream channel, or if you remove aggregate, gravel, sand, rock, rubble, or dredge within the stream banks, you will need a permit from DWR. So to clarify stream obstructions, modify, so stream obstructions could be a culvert, a bridge, a low water crossing, a pipeline or utility crossing, a temporary crossing. So those construction projects for wind turbines or pipeline crossings, if they have temporary crossings in a designated stream, they do need a DWR permit. Modify a stream obstruction, or not modify a stream channel. So if they're going to straighten the stream, clean out the stream, widen the stream, or do stream bank stabilization or revetment, they will need a permit from DWR. Aggregate removal. So if you're going to remove sand or gravel for roads or for sale to sell to somebody else, you're going to need a DWR permit. So how do I get a permit? So I'm going to go through the steps of getting a permit, a stream obstruction channel change permit, step by step, and talk about common pitfalls. So basically, this is a list of everything that you would need, a complete application. One of the pitfalls is that we don't have the owner contact information, a location map, plans, construction plans, plan view, cross-section view, specifications, a benchmark, appropriate fee, hydraulic analysis, copies of easements or owner permission. Sometimes people apply for permits on behalf of an owner, but they don't have the owner's permission. So we would need some kind of notification that the owner's okay with it. A stability analysis for slopes, side slopes greater than 2 to 1 on stream channels. And a licensed engineer is required for the mean annual flow greater than 100 CFS. For the most part, that's our larger streams and rivers. And so any fill associated with these applications that places more than a foot of fill in a floodplain may require a floodplain fill permit in addition to the stream obstruction permit. But right now we're going to focus on stream obstruction and channel change permits. So for stream obstruction permit, a location map can use an aerial map, such as Google Maps, County GIS, etc. This is for the Scott Boulevard Bridge. A plan view or a top view. So this is also the Scott Boulevard Bridge. This is the top view, and then the cross-section view. So this is an example of a channel change. This is the plan view or the top view that shows the alignment of the channel. This is the cross-section view. This is the typical. We allow typicals if the majority of the channel will look like this. It shows the side slopes, shows the width of the bottom, shows the width of the top. And then a profile or slope of the stream showing the slope or the profile of the proposed stream. This is an example of a gravel removal plan. So you can see this is the plan view is the top view looking down where they're going to remove the gravel. And then the cross section shows the gravel removal. Construction specifications, what do I mean by that? Well, majority of projects that we permit in our office use either KDOT, county, or city specifications that are available online. And so all we request for that is just to put some kind of statement on the plans that says something like this. If a project is not going to use those, then people put something construction notes on it, similar to the other example on the page. It just tells us how the project will be built. What we're looking for mostly is seeding, compaction, the work in the stream, how it's going to be done. So how much is each application? So stream destruction or channel change, the watershed is less than 5 square miles, it's $100. The watershed is between 5 and 50 square miles, it's $200. And if the watershed is greater than 50 square miles, this is $500. These fees are set by the legislature. DWR has nothing to do with the fee schedule. So other items that should be included with stream obstructions and channel changes is a hydraulic analysis to show the impact of the stream obstruction. Owner permission or easements. If any work is done on property that is not in your control, then we need to know that it's okay with that owner. And if any impact of the work impacts another person, then we would need permission from that other entity. Stability analysis for channel size slopes steeper than 2 to 1, we need some kind of stability analysis, i.e. retaining walls, concrete walls. We would need some kind of stability analysis to show that it's stable. And hiring an engineer. If you're in the Kansas, Arkansas, or Missouri River, you're going to need an engineer. If the mean annual flow is greater than 100 CFS, then you're going to need an engineer. Like I said before, 100 CFS is usually our larger streams. The Cottonwood, Neosho, that kind of thing, 100 CFS. If you're not 100% sure, you can always call the Division of Water Resources, and we'd be happy to tell you whether or not an engineer is required. You can email applications to kda.waterstructures@ks.gov. All we ask is that you give us some idea how you're going to be paying for the application. So there is a caveat in our rules and regulations about general permits. General permits are for smaller impact projects. These include bridge and culvert replacements, sand and gravel removal, pipeline crossings by open trench. So bridge and culvert removal, if the cross-section area is the same or larger, has limited channel work, and the road grade is not changed, then it could qualify as a general permit. Sand and gravel removal, if the drainage area is greater than 50 square miles and is limited to 100 cubic yards per year, then you could apply for a sand and gravel removal general permit. We see this a lot with our producer friends that are just using gravel for their own roads or own stock pages. So pipeline crossing, if you're going to do the pipeline crossing by open trench, the drainage area is less than 50 square miles, then no permit is required as long as the pipe is 5 feet below the stream bed. If the drainage area is greater than 50 square miles and a permit is required, it can be done by general permit. It has to be 7 feet below the stream bed on the Arkansas, Kansas, and Missouri rivers, and 5 feet below on any other stream. So if you think that your project qualifies for a general permit, you need to submit the previous application that we showed earlier, plus this 2916 worksheet that's shown here. The one caveat is that the road is not raised by more than a foot. A lot of people get tripped up by this. You must be sure that the road, that when you're putting in a new culvert or changing that bridge to a culvert, that you're not going to raise that road by more than 1 foot. Plans are required, location map, plan view, road cross section. If you are in zone 1, it's greater than 4 square miles. Zone 2, greater than 6 square miles, and zone 3, greater than 8 square miles. This is all outlined in the very top of the general permit worksheet. So this is a zoom of the actual worksheet, and the reason I'm showing it to you is because it is very important that this is filled out the best of your ability. If you just put in the existing and opening size and don't fill anything else out, it could slow down our review process. So with that, I'm going to move on to floodplain fills, KSA 24-126. Fill within a floodplain. So what is fill? As defined by our regulations, fill is material, soil, rock, rubble, that is placed in a floodplain to an average height greater than 1 foot. So that picture to the side there, that is definitely floodplain fill. Examples are levees, building pads, wetlands or duck marshes, and aggregate and soil stockpiles. So how do I know if something's in the floodplain? Then you can use the FEMA Map Service Center. We use it too, to put in the address or the lat and long, and to find out if the location of the proposed fill will be in the floodplain. What if I'm in a zone A and I don't know, there is no BFE? We have a great tool through KGS. It's called the Kansas Base Flood portal. And there's the website for it, the link for it. It's an incredible tool. I use it a lot too, that our floodplain group, Atera is in charge of, works very hard to get us the information. Once you create an account here, you'll be open up to this portal. You can go and follow the directions. You go to the map. You put a square around where you want to know the BFE, and then you submit it, and Patrick will give you an answer about what the BFE is. If you need a map, if you need a hydraulic analysis or a HEC-RAS model, you can do the same thing through that map. And Joanna or Bill will give you the best available data that we have for that HEC-RAS model. So I have a floodplain fill. What do I have to do? So it's very similar to our stream obstruction application. You complete the application. You provide a location map. You provide plans, plan view and cross-section view, specifications, a benchmark, the appropriate V, a stability analysis for any fills that are that have side slopes greater than 3:1, a hydraulic analysis for floodway analysis using HEC-RAS, and a licensed engineer is required if the fill is in a floodway, the height of fill is greater than 4 feet, or it's a Class C levee. And I'll get into more specifics about that in just a minute. So again, here's an example of a location map. This is for a pad, a building pad. This is a grading plan with contours. We do ask for a grading plan with contours. You can use LiDAR data. The LiDAR data is available for every county in the state of Kansas. Cross-section shows us the proposed grade versus the existing grade. It shows us the side slopes. It shows us the top of it so that we know if you're above that BFE. And then it shows us a lot of information. Specifications. This one is someone just told us what it was going to. Again, this one's for the city of Topeka. It says that it will use the city of Topeka standard technical specifications. You can use KDOT, county or city specifications if they're available online, or you can make your own specifications using your own data. So permit application fees, again, these are dictated by the legislature. DWR has no control over the fees. So for a Class A levy, for those of you that don't know, is usually what's termed an ag levy. Those are levies that if they were to breach, nothing but agricultural land would be harmed in the event of breach. Before construction is $100. After the fact, meaning that you have violated the law, it will be $200. Class B levy. Class B levy is a levy that if it were to breach, some agricultural buildings or some minor buildings would be harmed. It is $300. After the fact is $600. A Class C levy is if a levy breaches, people will be harmed. Example is around the city of Topeka has a Class C levy. The city of Manhattan has a Class C levy. There's other levies out there. It's $500. If you do a modification to that without getting proper permitting, it's $1,000. Floodplain fringe fill is $100. After the fact is $200. Floodplain fill in a zone A without BFE determinations is $300, which is after the fact is $600. And a floodway fill is $500, and after the fact is $1,000. Now, I want to please note that after the fact does not mean that you can send in an application after you've already done it. Just because you want to get started. After the fact is usually because someone has made a mistake and is in violation of the law and wants to make that, fix that a problem. So do not consider that after the fact, meaning that you can do it without getting a permit. It just is qualifications if you are in violation. So other items that are required, a hydraulic analysis to show the impact of the fill. These are required for all applications except for placement of fill in a floodway fringe. Owner permission or easements. If any of the work is on somebody else's property or any of the impact of the work is on somebody else's property, then you will need an easement or that owner's permission in writing. A stability analysis. That's for fill with side slopes steeper than 3:1. So if you're using a retaining wall to hold up your fill, we will need a stability analysis to show that that fill will be stable using that wall. So a need for an engineer. Again, if you have a Class C levy, you will need an engineer. Fills higher than 4 feet require an engineer, and fills in the floodway will require an engineer to sign off on the plan. You can email applications to kda.waterstructures@ks.gov. Again, we will need to know how you're going to propose to make payment. We will not process applications unless we receive payment and enough information to start the application review. So let's talk about projects that have both. So if a project has a stream obstruction or channel change and a floodplain fill, take the higher fee. So I'm going to use an example over here. This is a bridge replacement that we just recently got. And you can see here that the dashed line down here is the existing grade, and the heavy line is the proposed grade. And as you can see, there's quite a bit more than a foot of fill between the existing grade and the proposed grade. So because of this bridge replacement, you're not only replacing a bridge or a designated stream, you're also increasing the ground by more than a foot. So therefore, it needs both a stream obstruction and a floodplain fill. So let's do an example. So say that stream obstruction drainage area was 4 square miles, with the road raised more than 1 foot in a zone A. So we know that less than 4 square miles is $100 in fees. However, floodplain fill in a zone A is $300. So what would be my fee? Well, it would be the higher of the two, which is $300. I get this question a lot. Does everybody need to get a permit? Yes, everybody needs to get a permit. Any person, partnership, association, corporation, agency, or political subdivision of a state government, KDOT, cities, counties, levy districts, townships, etc., require permitting from DWR. No one is exempt from getting permitting. I would say our majority of our permits come from KDOT themselves, with second to cities and counties. So no one is exempt from getting permitting. Another question I get all the time is how long does it take to get a permit? KSA 82A 325 through 327 by the Kansas legislature says that all applications, stream obstruction and levies must go through a mandatory 30-day review. That gives a chance for 7 agencies: Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism, the Kansas Forest Service, the State Biological Survey, the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, State Historical Society, the Kansas Department of Agriculture Division of Conservation, and the State Corporation Commission, enough time to look at the application to see if there's any impact to their concerned areas. They email DWR about their concerns, and we forward those on to the applicant. Those concerns do not hold up your application. They're just an opportunity for them to review. General permits, if your application qualifies as a general permit, that review time is cut to 7 days. That's why a lot of cities and counties like to do general permits. Right now, our applications take 36 days average from the day that we receive them to the day that they go out signed. We're very proud of that number, and we work very hard to keep that number as good. General permits, right now we are averaging at about 10 days. So I know that was a lot of information, and I know that you all have very specific questions. So with that, I will say, if you have questions about a particular project, there's someone here to help you. If you need a state permit determination, please do not hesitate to call me or email me. If you need a question about a floodplain ordinance, Cheyenne is amazing at answering those questions. If you have a FEMA or FEMA mapping question or an FIP question, Tara is the person to go to. To obtain HEC-RAS models, use the BFE portal, or Joanna or Bill Pace will be happy to help you. And if you have an issue with someone not applying for permits, again, give me a call. I'd be happy to reach out to them. And with that, I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to allow some of you to ask questions if you have any questions. I know that was kind of short, but I wanted to give you guys all an opportunity to ask for questions.
Thanks, Janelle. I don't see any questions in the chat. at this time, but if you guys have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or come off of mute and ask it.
Wow.
I see one question that came in as a direct message to me, and it is, would yard trimmings and leaves be considered fill?
No. Rock, rubble, or concrete. So no, lawn trimmings and leaves are not considered fill.
Okay, there's another question in the chat. How are channel bank stabilization projects handled?
So the majority of them require a state permit. If the person is going to place rock on the existing bank as it is without doing any bank work, then it is exempt from permitting. But the majority of projects want to stabilize that bank before they dump concrete on there. So I would recommend that they get a determination from the state and from the U.S. Corps of Engineers before they do any work.
Thank you. Another question is if the permitting fees are standard across the state.
Yes.
Okay. There was another direct question to me, is just about if the PowerPoint will be available to refer back to. And I believe, Janelle, you'd be fine with us sending out your slides, correct?
Yes, I will make sure Tara gets a copy of the latest and greatest. I made some tweaks this morning because I couldn't sleep, so I'll make sure that Tara has that to post.
Thank you. And yes, and we will also be posting this on our training website for the recording to refer back to as well. Okay, so another question. Can you expand on water wells for municipalities?
Certainly. I am not a part of the water appropriations group, but if you have a water well for a municipality, I respectfully request that you call the field office about your concerns, and they can handle it from there. The ladies and gentlemen that work in those field offices are very familiar with your area and will be able to answer any of your concerns and questions.
Thank you. Another question is if railroads are required to get permits.
I knew somebody was going to ask that question. So they're not required per a federal law. However, the majority of railroads do work with DWR and counties to get permits.
Okay. Another question, does a project that needs a floodplain fill permit that has stream crossings required for construction also need the stream crossing permit?
Yes, if they're crossing a designated stream.
Thank you. So this one I think is asking about the time frame for record retention with the permits. If there's a required time frame for record retention with the permits.
So we do respectfully request that any permits that are issued are filed with the county Register of Deeds on your behalf. That way that they're associated with the property. DWR retains all permits under our records. I think we have permits all dating all the way back to, I think I've seen all the way back to 1930. They're not as easy to read as I would like, but we do retain all the records. But if you have a property and have a permit, we do respectfully request that they be registered with the property under the Register of Deeds.
Great, thanks. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat unless I missed one, but I think that was all that's in there right now. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none.
And if you think of one, please don't hesitate to reach out to Tara or myself. We'd be happy to answer any of your concerns or questions or personal questions that specifically have to do with your project or your city or county.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions, Janelle, thank you very much for the training. I thought that was really informative and helpful. And as Janelle mentioned, feel free to reach out if you do think of a question.